and we will get ourselves started. So here we go. So welcome to our 2022 school year. That actually sounds funny to say. Hard to believe we are here after certainly a couple years of wonkiness. I'm hoping that you're all feeling things to be a little closer to normal than they once were. I can say definitely at LaSalle, we're feeling that way a little bit more. I mean, still not totally perfect, but definitely moving in the right direction. So on the next slide, I would like to just make some quick introductions to who we are. So the first picture you see, that is Dr. Bob Vogel. If you have not met him yet, he is our founding director. So he is the one who started our program, almost 20 years ago. We're getting pretty far into it. And you'll hear from him in just another minute. He'll give a little history of finding or starting this program. In the middle, that is me. My name is Kim Lewinsky. I have been at LaSalle University for, this is the start of my 13th year. And I always say that probably one of the biggest driving forces that brought me to LaSalle was this Writers Matter program. When I came for my interview, I met Bob, and he started talking to me about this program, and writing has always been something near and dear to my heart, and something that I was involved with in a writing group at University of Virginia. And so the thought of already having this collective group together was really exciting to me, and have really jumped into Writers Matter from the day I started at LaSalle, and am currently the director of the program. And Trent McLaurin came to LaSalle. Trent, is this your fourth year?
Yes, my fourth year.
Yeah, feels funny because Trent's
I
first
know.
year at LaSalle was the pandemic year. Like we never came to a full close, and then
Right.
it was very different for a couple years. So Trent came to us so about 4 years ago, and as Trent and I started talking about the work that we do and the things that we're really passionate about, we realized that he really was a perfect complement to Writers Matter and a lot of the work that we were doing, because we'll talk about later on tonight, but we look at us as more than just a writing group, but really a program that is trauma informed and really helps to reach a lot of students. And you'll hear from Trent in a little bit as well. And then at the bottom there, we have Joe Rogers, and he is somebody who works closely with us. He was a student at LaSalle and is now, and then became a teacher and was using Writers Matter in his school. Joe helps us with doing our newsletter, updating our website, also our social media accounts. So Joe will probably be reaching out from time to time, asking for some things. We always want to highlight you, the teachers that are part of the program, that we could put on our social media sites. We also want to highlight our students and the work that our students are doing. So sharing some of the work that they're doing and things like that, so that we can highlight them on our website, in our newsletter, as well as on our social media sites. So when you hear from Joe, please respond. We're always looking to really share the awesome work that all of you are doing. So,
and can I give a quick shout out to my former boss, Miss Anne Marie Dossamore, who's on the call, and she's bringing Writers Matter to my last institution, Bonner and Prendy, which I recently left. So she's going to be carrying that on. And we're glad she's here.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. So glad to have you here tonight. And little embarrassing shout out there. And then finally, I want to introduce Andre to all of you. If you were at the kickoff meeting, we gave Andre, and well, we actually showed some of Andre's work. We're not going to spend too much time with that, but Andre is who we call our poet in residence. Andre was a student here in Philadelphia. He graduated from Stanton Elementary School many years ago, and he has been a part of the Writers Matter program for a few years, and does an amazing job going out to the schools and working with our students and really helping to inspire them to, live out their dreams, to use writing as a vehicle to get their voice heard, how to really use their voice so that others will listen to it. And so this picture here is an example of a day that Andre had gone out to Stanton. So Andre, would you like to say anything more, introduce yourself to the group and tell them a little bit about how you can support them this year?
How you guys doing? I'm Andre, the resident poet. Basically what we do, I work with my partner, Will. We go out, we come out to the schools. We're willing to work with you guys because you guys know the students better than us to design the day's program, board the activities. But like a lot of times we just like to do something positive, learning, but like something fun for them to keep them engaged. So we'll do like little workshops and we structure it. We can either design it for you guys or we can work together to design what the day would be like. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think if you go to the website, it'll kind of explain in more details, but just try to do something to that the kids will remember.
And you'll continue to hear from Andre at our monthly meetings. You'll definitely hear from other members of the group that have had Andre out to the schools. He's great to do end of year celebrations where the students share their work and he shares some of his work with them. But he's also great to come throughout the year to really work, one-on-one in classrooms or with a school and help to inspire them to continue to use their voices and share their voices with everybody. So we are so lucky to have Andre with us, and hopefully, as I started off saying, a little more of a normal year. We're really hoping that Andre is going to be able to get out to the schools a lot more this year as they're more open and have an opportunity to work with these students. So thank you, Andre.
Thank you.
And so before we really jump into the program, I wanted to give a little history of the program. And so I'm going to turn it over to Bob, our founding director, to, if he wants to reintroduce himself, but also talk briefly about how he got the program started. And then we have just a short clip from our a documentary that was created on the program, just to give you a little more of an inside scoop about the program. Bob?
Thank you. Hi, everybody. It's great to see so many experienced, I was going to say old, but experienced Writers Matters teachers. And it's especially great to see all the new faces that are joining Writers Matters. This is it's very exciting for all of us because we're seeing the program grow in so many different ways. So I'll give you a little bit of background on myself very briefly. I spent 3 years teaching in the school district of Philadelphia before I got an appointment at LaSalle University. And I spent the next 43 years at LaSalle. And I've been retired now from LaSalle for 6 years. So if you do the math, you'll figure out that I'm 43 years old. All right. If you didn't figure that out, then you got to work on your math skills. Anyway, so the program started back actually in 2004 when I met a person named Erin Gruwell, which I think a lot of you might have heard about and maybe seen the program called Freedom Writer's Diary. And I actually met her in California at a wedding, and we started talking, and she got, and I knew a little about the program, but she got me really excited about thinking about how I could do something in Philadelphia. So I came back and I went to one of my friends who was a principal at Grover Washington Middle School in Philly. and we recruited a teacher. His name was Michael Galbraith. And we started the program in 2005. We piloted it for 3 years, 90 kids for 3 years. We did all kinds of different types of writing assignments. And if you've seen the book, Voices of Teens, Writers Matters, a lot of the work was in there. So anyway, I started the program with just one teacher, one school, and totally by myself. And if we fast forward to 2022, thank God I have Kim, I have Trent, I have Joe, and I have Andre to keep this going. And not only that, we have about 15 schools, and we are expecting somewhere close to 28 to 3,000 kids in the program this year. So we've come a long way, and it's been an exciting journey. And if I had to say one of the most important aspects of the program, and it's actually in the title of the first book, is we were looking at voices of teens. We wanted to listen to the voices of the kids, and we use that as our center, of ways of trying to figure out how we can get the kids to get their thoughts onto paper through the writing process. And we did this for probably about 6 or 7 or 8 years. I forgot what year Kim started, but when Kim came on board, she really helped me expand the program, and we started looking in different directions. And then Trent came along a couple of years ago, and that's been expanding the program. So we're in a great place. One of the nice things about this is that, given that I'm supposed to be retired, which really hasn't happened that well, I have Kim and Trent and Joe doing a lot of the work now, and they are and for those of you that are new to them, you're going to have a great experience with them. So, and also I wanted to do this one extra shout out to Andre. Andre joined our team about 4 years ago, and he's magical. He's just an incredible artist, an incredible poet, an incredible musician. And you need to make sure that when you get to a comfort place, you reach out to him and have him come to your school. Because he does assembly programs. We can work with after school programs. We can do a lot of different things. So just keep that in mind, especially for the new teachers that are joining us here. We have lots of resources. So that's the basic history of the program. It's been a wild journey for me, and now I can kind of sit back and watch. I can just watch some incredible things happen. And I'll tell you, for those of you that are new, make sure you reach out to our experienced teachers, because they are the other part of the magic of our program. They keep on bringing more and more things to the program. They do writings for us. They've helped us produce some of the booklets that you'll be getting in due time. So I want to welcome everybody to the program, and looking forward to meeting you at any time we have some events where we actually can meet in person. And have a great year, everybody.
All right, thanks, Bob. I'm going to go ahead and share a video too that goes over that talks a little bit more about the history of the program. So if you can't hear my video, or if it's a little bit choppy, please let me know. My computer's acting a little bit funny, but we should be good to go here. So just as a group check, if you can hear it, give me a thumbs up. I'm gonna look over at the camera in a second. So I'm gonna hit play, but if it's choppy, let me know, and I'll try one more thing before we get started.
We're good.
In 2003, 2004, I was following Erin Gruwell's work in Los Angeles. A teacher who looks very carefully at motivation and strategies that motivate kids. I knew this was a perfect program. And in 2004, I met Erin in California, and we got to talk, and she told me all about her program and some of the things she was thinking about doing. And I invited her to come to Philadelphia to talk to some of the schools that I've been involved with.
So the Writers Matter program is designed to help students write personally and not think so much about grammar and punctuation as they normally would in other classroom writings. So it kind of gets them to open up and become better writers through that process.
I don't like to call it a program. I think it's an approach to writing and the teaching of writing. One thing that amazed me as I began studying writing was how much research had been done on writing and how much we know about writing, yet none of it is being used in our schools. And so I actually kind of teased Bob because I said, your program really isn't anything new. It's something that we've known about writing for the last 30 years. You've just found a way to make it accessible to the students.
We've developed a professional development program where we meet with the teachers once a month, and we help them take their own skills, their own expertise, their own areas that they feel most comfortable with, and we show them what the program looks like, and we have them figure out a way that works best for them, because it's a place where they get a chance to talk about what they do, which is teaching and learning. And they share with other teachers who are like them, who are motivated but are under the same challenges.
You know, we actually had a new teacher come to our last meeting, and she said, well, how do I get teachers to buy into it? And I said, you just need to get them started, or you just need to send them to one of our meetings, and they will immediately be hooked because you see results. You see how your relationship with your students change. You see how the classroom environment changes, and you see that they want to write. They start doing it for homework when they never used to.
We took a look at students' work over a period of 2 or 3 years, and we came up with major themes. And we found that they really like to talk about who they were, where they're from, you know, what their neighborhoods were like. And they love to talk about their families, and they love to talk about their issues that they were dealing with as a teenager.
We generally start off with an I am from in the beginning of the school year, and it just builds, and it helps the class come together pretty much because they realize how much they have in common.
We have to get them used to the writing process first before we can, and I think personal narrative helps with that. Everyone wants to talk about themselves, especially middle school kids.
Just talk about this kid here, Asani. He talks about his mom a lot. He writes about his mother a lot. His mother, well, he said to me, I like to talk to you about my mom because you really care. And he had to go through so much. He was in a mental institution. He was on medication.
It was an odd day when one of my memories was coming to mind, and I was a raindrop ready to plop for the storm festival, moaning and groaning to my mom's sorrow as if I sacrificed her problems when I really wanted to save them. It was like a dream going on and on. My love for my mother is the lion's love, keeping its cubs safe. I don't know if she still loves me or forgot about me. She is like a woman in men's clothing. When she wears them, she is still a beautiful raindrop. But I'll be waiting, getting ready when my raindrop pops for the storm parade.
I believe that once kids begin to view themselves as writers, whether it's from a journal that they've been keeping or from a class assignment, they'll be able to write anything. Okay, so just a short little clip. The entire documentary is about 45 minutes long. It's on our website. I'm going to take you to our website in a little bit, just kind of show you some pieces of that. But you know, definitely feel free to share that video with your students. I think sometimes it's really neat for them to see that they are a part of a program that people across Philadelphia are using, and just, you know, to see that they are a small part of a lot of people. So yeah, so a little more about that in a little bit. So Trent, you want to hit us off on the next part?
Yeah, so just and also like a pretty, I think a cool story that kind of highlights what Kim was just talking about is Kim and I had a shared class or are doing a shared class this semester. And we're talking about empowering students through writing. We're talking about hip hop pedagogy and being trauma informed as an educator. And we actually had a student from our joined class come and talk to us afterwards and shared a picture of her as a member of Writers Matter when she was in, I think, 8th grade.
Yeah.
So this is a freshman now at LaSalle University who still was like really excited to come up and share with us and tell us, like, I was actually in this program that I heard you talking about. And so that was a pretty cool moment. So it just kind of shows how the reach is actually out there and it's growing, and students are now graduating, and people like Andre, who I have on this slide, who graduated from Stanton, put this really well. And I wanted to kind of to snapshot this before we get into our I am froms and talk about hip hop pedagogy a little bit and give some examples. Andre has a quote that says, "Poetry is freedom, poetry is release, poetry is therapy. In these moments, it's only about what our heart feels." So this is a snapshot. This is pulled from our website where you can see more of what Andre does with hip hop and with poetry with our students. But I wanted to just hopefully inspire us before we get into our I am froms, and thinking about saying where you're from in ways that are not just direct, like I'm from Washington, D.C., or I'm from Bucks County. But instead, I want us to think about using figurative language and using more artistic language in ways that we communicate. And something that drew me to Writers Matter in the program is when I was doing my job talk at LaSalle in my interview, I was talking about trauma-informed pedagogy. I was talking about how we can connect with students. I used hip hop as a tool to help us to practice the skill of active listening. And Kim immediately came up to me and told me about Writers Matter and all the work that's being done. And it was an immediate connection. So hip hop culture is something that, we'll talk a little bit about, but really specifically through music, through expression, through dance. A lot of our students can connect. A lot of people in general, globally connect with the culture. But when talking about writing, our students often listen to poets, listen to great writers all day long. We often just don't frame it that way. We're used to framing the great writers of our time as people that we've learned about in schools, but we don't often think about Kendrick Lamar, who is now a Pulitzer Prize winner, or Jay-Z, who is now, he's actually a billionaire, but that's not related to, but that all started from him being a writer, essentially being a rapper. But he's a business person and everything else. And then we have another video that I can show a quick snippet of this hip hop culture expressing really where they're from artistically through dance, through fashion, through their lyrics. So as you think about and get into our I am from activity we're going to do in a few seconds that Kim will explain better, I just wanted to kind of give you these examples to kind of get your brains kind of thinking a little bit about how we can say where you're from without saying exactly where you're from. So Kendrick Lamar has a line from Good Kid in Good Kid, Mad City, where he says, "Brace yourself, I'll take you on a trip down memory lane. This is not a rap on how I'm slinging crack or move cocaine. This is cul-de-sac and plenty cognac and major pain. Not the drill sergeant, but the stress that's weighing on your brain." All right, so that album's about him being from Compton, the things that he encountered growing up in Compton, which he kind of calls being a good kid in the Mad City. So that's just an example of him talking about where he's from without saying I'm from Compton. And it was, I'll leave it at that. So Jay-Z has a line that says, I'm from where they cross over and clap boards, lost Jehovah in place of rap lords. Listen, I'm up the block, around the corner, and down the street from where the pimps, prostitutes, and the drug lords meet. We make $1 million off of beats because our stories is deep, and forget tomorrow as long as the night before was sweet. So again, I'm using this language, this figurative language, because he's not saying I'm from where there's a lot of basketball courts and where there's crime or whatever, or where there's been a lack of support systemically for generations. He's painting that picture using his words and expressing where he's from in an artistic way. That what I encourage us to do as educators is to practice the skill of active listening, which includes not being judgmental, not coming in with your own preconceived notions, but really listening to what the artists have to say, and of course what our students have to say. So those are two examples, and I'll show a brief clip of a video that also talks about where an artist talks about where she's from and incorporates fashion and dance and things like that as well.
Wild cage birds sing, but we fly, even though they poison the sky. We don't cry, we gon' take our piece of the pie. So I'ma need my red hot, fresh and ready. For those who tried to keep me on ice like a Yeti. The West Beat, where they press me to a diamond. That's why I throw it up like the Heimlich. I'm just maneuvering on the serpent's head. So I tread on the skull of my enemies. And I'm quadrupling anything that I touch. If it's milk and honey, dummy, I'm the honeybee buzzing. You can see the pure pollination. Need G's like Masons in the haven. For these beats, I freak on the daily. I lose sleep, putting feet to the pavement and grinding. Like a Power 2 or X, refining. Everything I do on wax. My time is near and I refuse to lack the shine which only a diamond can match. Bling, bling.
All right. So there you get a little taste of how you can incorporate hip hop culture into what you're doing with encouraging students to write and become writers. So here's some of the work that came from our class that Kim and I have combined that we'll do throughout the semester. So we had our students work on I am froms and then we are froms. And here's some examples. I think I'll read the ones that I can actually read really well on the slides, but so our students that came together, again, this is a first year seminar. So students don't really know each other. This is the second week of school. You know, they're some of them, their first time being outside of the city and the place that they were from. So we have students that are, you know, in a new and vulnerable state, but they came together and came up with this really great work and shared and wrote in an hour and 15 minutes. So one group said, we are from diversity, roses out of concrete, raised around drugs, guns and violence, blown by the wind, as we're planting new seeds, taking a chance to escape the roots, flourishing into a garden. We are from very different areas, but LaSalle brings us together in a place where we experience similar things, such as adapting to the college life. And so I'll leave it at that, but you can just hopefully are inspired by just seeing how this work can connect to so many things, including a lot of things that I'm sure many of your students enjoy, like just hip hop culture, and that can be related to even other genres of music too, but you know, we're just using hip hop for this example. And you can see how college students engage in this activity. And I know we have a lot of experienced teachers on this call that have done this already, so I'm sure you have your own stories of how impactful this assignment can be. But I'm gonna stop talking now and pass it back to you, Kim, and you can set up the activity that we're gonna do together in the next 15 to 20 minutes.
Thanks, Trent. So yeah, one of the things that we really stress in Writers Matter is to remember to put ourselves in the seat of our students, right? Remember what it's like to be asked to write and to write things that you're going to share with your peers and in your classrooms. And so we often call Writers Matter an approach, not a program, because we don't want you to think that there is this dogma of how you need to complete assignments and in a particular order. But one of the assignments that many of our teachers, and you're going to hear from one of our teachers fairly soon, talking about just getting the year started with Writers Matter, but a lot of them start with an I am from. And one of the nice things about an I am from is who is the expert? The student, right? They are the ones that are in charge of telling their story. No teacher can come up to them and tell them, no, you're wrong about a family member or something that they care about or some traditions that they celebrate. So we're going to take a few minutes, and I'd like each of you to write an I am from, so that you can use that as a way to introduce yourselves to some of the other people on this call. So when we talk about I am from, Trent was saying, you know, sometimes you could say the literal sense, I am from Compton or I am from Philly, but this is also where you can teach a lot of creative writing and figurative language and all those great things that we know are part of our curriculum that we need to cover. But we can do it in a way that the kids actually care, that they actually want to listen to you, and they actually want to make the piece of writing that they have better by utilizing some of those techniques that you teach them. So when we think of an I am from, we might want to think about you come from your family. You might want to think about your friends that you come from. Food is something that's really important to a lot of people that really identifies who they are, their culture or their religion. Hobbies that you're involved in. So those are things that people like to talk about. Sometimes you're from a favorite song or a favorite line from a song. Nicknames tend to be really important. Favorite shows, movies, the meaning of your name, your neighborhood, your fears, your dreams, your morals, your values. All of those things are things that you could include in your I am from. So we try to keep it very open. Typically, if I were working with a group of students or we had more time, I would have them brainstorming together this list instead of me just giving it to them, having them really think about things that they might say that represent who they are. So we would like you to take, we'll give you about 5 minutes or maybe 7 minutes to take out a sheet of paper, or if you already picked up your materials, take out a journal of your own and go ahead and work on your own I am from. So what are some things that you would want to share with this group? And hint, hint, this is something that you can now get done. So when you're starting to do your I am froms with your class, you'll have one that you could share with them yourself. So go ahead and we'll take, I'll set a timer, but we'll take about 5 to 7 minutes and just go ahead and write an I am from. The only rule I say is your first line should be I am or I am from. And from there, you can take it in any direction. So feel free to use any of this list as things to inspire your piece of writing. Okay, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to jump in. Otherwise, I will stop talking and give you a few minutes to write. I'll give you about one more minute to come to a close. Okay, so hopefully you've had a few minutes to jot a few thoughts down. I actually went down memory lane myself. One thing I always tell people is I at this point have probably written 250 I am froms. I always write with you as well. But it's funny, no two are ever the same. So, you know, kind of the way I'm feeling that day, what am I identifying with most? Sometimes I think about myself as a granddaughter. Sometimes I think of myself as a mother. Sometimes I think of myself as an educator. And so oftentimes those pieces really come together in my I am from. So if you can go to the next slide, what we'd like for you to do is we're going to put you into some breakout rooms. And we would like you to, if you can, turn on your cameras so that you can introduce yourselves to each other, get to know who is part of this group with all of you. And you can go ahead and share either all of your I am from, or if you'd like, maybe just a short line or your favorite line, I guess, from your I am from. And then in your breakout room, see if you can create a we are from together. So introduce yourselves, share your own I am from or part of your I am from, and then together come up with a we are from. You have two options when you do your we are from. So you can each take your own favorite line and put them together to create one big we are from, or you might decide to write a we are from together. So thinking about some commonalities and things that you all have with one another as you introduce yourselves and as you hear each other's I am froms. And so you could put those together. We're not looking for a long we are from, so maybe just one with a few lines that we can then share with the group when we come back together. So let me just open up some breakout rooms here. And so there'll be about 4 to 5 of you in each breakout room. So like I said, when you get in there, if you can turn your cameras on, introduce yourselves, tell people where you're from, literally like what school, and then you can share your I am from with one another, and then you can create a we are from. So we'll give you about 10 minutes to do that in those groups, and we'll see how far we get. Any questions? One last thing, Trent, if you can jump to the next slide. I always like to share this with my students. And I say, it's okay to suck. And what I mean by that is, I only gave you 5 to 7 minutes to write your I am from. So nobody expects that this is going to be your perfect publishable piece of writing that, you know, is going to be ready to be hung on the wall. And so, you know, this was really just a brainstorm, but I think it's important that, you know, we create that culture in our classrooms and we show our students that it's okay to share. It's okay to share things that are a work in progress. It's okay to share some brainstorms. It's okay to share something that you think is really bad and say, thoughts on how I could make it better. But the nice thing with the I am from is it lets students know that there is no right or wrong answer. It really puts them in the driver's seat because they are the ones that are the expert of their lives. So it's a great way to really kind of take down those barriers between student and teacher and allow this student for once to have that leadership role. So so when you get in your group and before you share, you might say, this isn't that great, because I feel like everyone wants to say that sometimes, and that's okay. They're not meant to be great. They're just a way to introduce ourselves with each other. So unless anyone has any questions, I am going to create the breakout rooms. Please feel free to jump in. Like I said, introduce yourselves, share your I am from, and then put together a we are from. And we will see you back in a few. Okay, so I think whether you want to be back or not, you're back because you've been kicked out of your room. So sorry if it knocked you out mid-sentence. I know sometimes that happens. So I apologize about that. But hopefully you had a chance to meet some other people that are part of the Writers Matter program. Tonight is a new teacher orientation. So we mostly have new teachers or maybe teachers that just joined in the last year or two, but we do have a few other teachers that have been with us for some time as well. So before we jump into the materials and the nitty gritty of the program, I'd love to hear a we are from. Would any group like to share the we are from that your group created?
Can I share ours?
Would love to hear it.
So what was really interesting is everybody, like we had one person that wrote about her dad and his passing, and I wrote about my dad and his forgetting, and everybody had something about their family in it. So we wrote I am from family. So I am from the reflection of his heroism. I'm from taking care of someone who used to take care of me. A family full of sing-alongs, love, and humor. I'm from foundation, always flowing with love and inspiration. It's nice, right?
Totally nice. Like, how did you do that so fast? That was amazing.
Oh, that was really good.
Years of practice.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And how neat that you all saw that family connection, which
isn't that
you
fun?
know, there's a reason why one of our themes is family matters, right? It certainly does. So nice job. Another group? Would one other group like to share?
I'll go for us.
Awesome. Thank you.
So we kind of took bits and pieces of what everybody was saying and kind of took it from a point of view of like a teacher in the class, of teachers in the classroom. We are from a place with wooden walls, with Sharpies, Post-its, and Crayola, with sounds and pitter-patter of footsteps and jumping rope. Chromebooks and iPads have replaced the simpleness of pens, pencils, and paper. We are from old buildings with concrete yards and children laughing and playing. We are educators.
Nice job. I love that. I love that where you said how the Chromebooks and the computers have taken the place of the simple, that was a really powerful line for me to really, it's so true. There's a book, Good Night Moon, and then it's like Good Night iPad, and it always cracks me up because it's like, yep, this is the world that we live in now. So thank you for sharing that. Any other group want to share before we move on?
Martin Luther King High School.
I will.
Okay, great. Thanks, Trace.
We are from soft pretzels and water ice. We are from dramatic drama and smelly smells, from neglect and micromanagers, from overwhelming feelings and the fixer of all things. From the glue that holds everyone together, we are miracle workers. We are underpaid and overworked. We are from underpaid and overworked exhaustion. We are from departmentalized chaos and the keeper of snacks for all. We are from blended school and personal families. We're from doing our best.
Wow, that was awesome. And you hit it, man. That sounds like some teachers right there. So there you-
Neglected micromanagers. That was a great line. I don't know who came up with that one, but that was powerful.
might have to write that one down, right?
Trent, I heard that one as well. That stood out to me as well.
That was great.
Awesome. So
I think, I'm sorry, Kim, I think, I'm not sure of the name, but Jay Ilnor?
Joe.
Also has your hand up as well.
Yeah, Joe.
Okay, great.
Go.
We had little pieces also from everybody in the group. Brick City is where we're from, one street higher and longer than most. We're daughters, sons, and children of God who inspire a passion for learning, take beauty in themselves and the world.
Oh, wow. That was awesome.
Thank you.
You know, it's so interesting. We just listened to a couple different ones and like the different takes that each person was able to take on that, right? Like, I mean, that one had a very positive and uplifting kind of feel. And then, you know, the other one kind of had that heavy weight of the world kind of feel that we're dealing with. And, you know, and then our other group really talking about family. And so it's just amazing how the exact same assignment can really bring about such different responses. So nice job. That was awesome. Is there anyone else, Trent, before I move on? I don't want to miss anyone.
I didn't see any other hands, but we can
Okay.
give it a second.
Perfect. So, you know, what I always like to encourage our teachers is to share your story, because when you're willing to share and open yourself up to your students, they are going to be that much more willing to share and open themselves up to you as well. So, you know, hopefully you now have at least this one I am from that you can share with your students as you're getting the year started. And then on the next slide, just, you know, thinking about the I am from, there are so many different places that an I am from could take you. So you could literally take each line from your I am from and create whole new assignments to cover different objectives that you need to cover within the curriculum. So, you know, a place could open into a piece of descriptive writing or scenery from a memory, right? So if they just said, you know, I am from Philadelphia, or I am from, you know, dirty streets and smells, right? They can take that one line and imagine the descriptive writing that they could build as they went on to really show us what that looked like, what that smelled like, right? Using all those sensory details. So I always like to think of an I am from also as a great brainstorm for other writing that they can do in the future. They can take different parts of that. Maybe they wrote a line about their family and that could be expanded into different things. So I know there's a lot on this slide, and we'll share these slides with you after the fact because I don't want to go through and read all of them, but these are just some great examples of how they can take something about themselves and really take it in a whole new direction to continue to build on the curriculum that you need to cover.
Dr. K, if I can just say one thing, just from my experience in the classroom, especially with older students and high schoolers, before we started the I am from, I'd modeled the brainstorming process, and I had all my students brainstorm directly on their final copy, so I can see the evolution of their topic from brainstorming to final copy. And it was really nice to see them write the I am from and then write a paragraph based on the I am from. So learning how to translate their writing into different mediums, and that was really an important skill for them to learn, so that when they had their choice assignments, they could choose between, you know, a narrative essay or a more creative poem or an I am from structure.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes, that's awesome. And I see Tracy here just put in the chat too, if you didn't see that, I Am From's fit so well with the new Philadelphia ELA curriculum for the first term. So, really think about that and how you can utilize that. And that helps us to really springboard into what is Writers Matter. And, we view it as a motivational tool to get students to write and express themselves in meaningful ways. And I think the key word there, or the two key words there, is motivational and meaningful. We know as educators, we can decide what we want to teach them all day long, but they're going to be the ones that decide what they want to learn. They're going to be the ones that decide what lesson they're going to actually incorporate into their lives, into their writing. And so when you find a way to get into their lives, get into writing that they care about, they're going to be so much more motivated to want to learn how to make it better, want to incorporate all of these things that you're teaching. We also say that Writers Matter is an approach. I said before, I don't want you to think that this is a dogma, a curriculum that you have to follow, to a T. We want you to make it fit your classroom and your students. So, you'll find that when we have our monthly meetings, teachers will say, well, I hope it's okay that I change it. Absolutely, it's always okay. We love, all the materials that I'm going to tell you about in just a minute are ones that have come from all of you and your creativity and, us just planting a seed and you running with it. So, continue to do that kind of thing. And also it's a trauma-informed, equity-oriented approach to learning. And Trent will give you a little snippet about that in a little bit, but we're going to go into a lot more detail about that as the year goes on. So if we go to the next slide, I know a lot of you came to pick up your materials or a representative from your school came to pick up your materials. And for the new schools, I kept saying, I know this is kind of like cart before the horse because you're picking up these things and you're not really sure what they all are. So I just want to let you know, all the new teachers should have gotten a bag that has a copy of all of our materials so that you can have a hard copy of each group. But then your class set was really the books that are appropriate for your age group. So if you see down here, every classroom should have received a journal, one for every student in your class. We also provided a Writers Matter pen to go along with that journal, and also bracelets with the Writers Matter program on there. So if you have not received those yet, please reach out to the teacher leader at your school or let me know and we can arrange a time for you to get those. We find that the students really love their Writers Matter journal. It's kind of something that's important to them, a place that they feel like they can, really write what is on their mind in those journals. We then have 3 books. Oh, if you can go back real quick. We have 3 other books. So we have this orange book, and this book is the curriculum that was created for our elementary students. So we typically say grades 3 through 5. And so in there are the lessons that we've created for that age group. Next is this blue book, and that is a book that was created for early middle school students, so 6th grade. And a lot of 7th grade teachers decide, like if they think that their students need a little more support, they tend to use this book with 7th grade as well. And then we have this green book. This was the original book that the program was founded on. And this is really designed for 8th grade students. But some of our teachers that have, more mature 7th grade students or more advanced 7th grade students often like to use that book with them as well. So you should have received a copy of one of these books for every single student in your class as well. So again, if you don't have that yet, let us know and we can work on that. This purple book down here is what we call the supplemental book. So many teachers have been part of the program for so long. We have some schools that are using the program from, second grade all the way through 8th grade. And so that book just has a bunch of extra activities that go along with the different themes. So for example, we have the I Am From that you're going to see in all of these books, but they look a little different due to the age group. And then in the supplemental book, we have an activity called Best Part of Me that, expands upon the I Am From, and the students do a fun activity on, thinking about the best part of them and things like that. So definitely make sure that you have a copy of each of these books. Also, if you go to writersmatter.org and you go to the materials for learning, all of these books are in PDF version. So feel free to pull from them. So just because you have the elementary version doesn't mean you can't pull something from the 6th grade version and vice versa. So feel free to use these materials in any way that you see fit, and adapting them up or down in any which direction. And so I'm going to turn it over now, if you go to the next slide, to Kelly Ann. Kelly Ann Coughlin is a teacher, is our teacher leader from J. Hampton Moore, and has been with the program, I think, as long as me. We invited her to just kind of talk to all of you about the program and some tips to getting you started this year. So Kelly Ann, are you?
I'm ready.
There you go. All right.
Hi, everybody. So Kim, I started the program when I was a middle school teacher, before we really were really into elementary school. So I started when I was a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade creative writing and technology teacher at Harding Middle School in Frankfurt. And how I utilized it at the beginning was just sort of working it into, obviously I was a specialist teacher, so I sort of worked it into my writing. And I also had something after school called a deaf poetry club, modeled off for the young people there, modeled after a deaf poetry on HBO back in the day. And so we sort of like I sort of wove everything in Writers Matter into what I was doing in my curriculum all year, every day. When I moved to elementary school at J. Hampton Moore, I really like, I think one of the most important things that I always stress with new people, and that we talked about at our first meeting at Moore, is, like, how do you feel about writing? And I know a lot of people come into the program sort of on one side of the fence or the other. People either like genuinely love it, or kind of like are in the program because they've always hated teaching writing and they're hoping this could give them like a little push. So I think the first thing is presenting, Writers Matter as something that is fun and that's interesting, and that you have that you show passion about, like anything that you teach, right? Nobody cares if you don't care. So I always like pump up writing because I personally love writing. So at the beginning of the year, I, kick off the year with, I'm going to make you love writing. Like it's going to happen this year. If you weren't a writer before, like this year, you're going to be a writer. And I usually do pretty good with it because I feel like once I get a few people who are writers in my room, it's like a domino effect. Everybody wants to be a writer because once they hear people share, and sharing, I think, is a huge part of the program, that it sort of unites the class and it really brings everyone together, which is why I think if you're in the lower grades, like Best Part of Me is a great way to start, like Kim just ended with. And I think most of us who have been in the program for years usually start with I Am From. And if you've never done an I Am From, like I know the I Am template that's in the orange book, like you can of course start with, and that's for a little lower level. But if you are of an older grade and teach, I always taught at Harding I Am From by, the original poem by George Ella Lyon. I mean, you can find her reading it. It is, the vocabulary is, a little higher level, but I think if you break it down, it's easy to manage as well. Obviously there's a ton of examples in all of the books of I Am From, like you all just did. And I think one of the things that really unites the class, as we all just saw in our small groups and in our full group, is the We Are From. I was in Anne's small group, and it was really touching that people wrote about their families, and it was sad and it was heartfelt. And it was cool to hear people write about what I would write about growing up in Harrogate. Like I could tell, like we all had these connections that made us all feel something, right? And I think that's an important part of the program to show within yourself at the beginning, no matter what kids are writing about, you know, even if it is, you know, I like mint chocolate chip ice cream. I'm like, what? Me too. You know, so whatever that emotion is, I think it's really important to play it up, whether it's, you know, for lower grades that might not be as deep, or for some of us who teach at, you know, some tough schools. Like when I was at Harding, like everything was so, you know, oh my gosh, it was very traumatic. Like it was very.
Oh my gosh. Did we just?
I think we lost, yeah.
We lose her? Ah, she's so good. I love when she talks about our program. Hopefully she'll jump back in. For a second, I'm like, oh my gosh, did I accidentally like end the meeting or something? But
I'll text her to make sure she's okay.
yeah, make sure she's okay. Good call. We don't want anything happening to Kellyanne. But Kellyanne has been such an integral part of the program, and she's a great resource. She's at all of our meetings. So, you know, we can't tell you everything tonight. Obviously, that's why we have our monthly meetings. But hopefully we're just giving you, you know, a little taste and a little bit to get you started on the program. And, you know, we definitely encourage you to come each month so that you can learn a little bit more and hear from other teachers just like Kellyanne that have been part of our program for a while, and they can share their expertise with one another. So if we jump to the next slide, Trent, if you just want to quickly share with them, you know, just how Writers Matter is trauma informed and that's our focus for this year, and then we'll.
Yeah, so I'll be really brief because I know our time is we have a few more minutes left. But so since I've joined kind of like the team, I really have been trying to intentionally point out ways in which the program is trauma informed, and we've really tried to make it explicit over the past few years. This year is going to be a focus as well. And what we're going to do is build up resources, because if you weren't here 2 years ago, or 3 summers ago when we had workshops where we talked about it, you might have missed that information. So we're trying to build it in so there's resources for everyone, and even as a refresher as well. But things that we like to just say, and just to remind everyone, is that not everyone experiences events the same way. Not everyone is affected by events and experiences the same. And this is, I think, helpful as teachers, as you hear students read their stories and their I am froms and everything else that they write about. It's just a good reminder that our hope is not that you jump to the conclusion that, oh, this is traumatic, or this is an instance of trauma. That's not what we're saying at all. We're not diagnosing. We're not psychologists. But what we're saying as trauma-informed educators, and having a program that is trauma-informed in its approach, is that we're aware of these things, and we break down these terms and definitions even more, and we will throughout the year. But the idea is just keep in mind day one that not everybody is affected by things the same way. We can't assume that the youth that we encounter and work with have experienced trauma. And it doesn't mean you can't develop if you have experienced it, and that our students, as well as all of us on the call, are resilient and have protective factors in our lives already. So that's just a reminder. I'm not going to go deep into definitions. Kim will send out the slides, and these are just really 2 definitions. One is from a school-based book. One is from a more of a psychological breakdown from a psychologist. But there are 2 ways that we kind of just we add to our working definition of what trauma is. I think we hear that word a lot, and it kind of goes around in education as trauma-informed pedagogy. It's kind of like a buzzword, but this is just a way for us to be grounded in some common definitions. And this is the last thing I'll say. And just our program, I think what really stuck with me, and also with Kim and Bob, hearing me talk and hearing us do different things separately and kind of help us come together, is that when even being in these groups and seeing the adults work together and collaborate, and as teachers, you have a chance to be able to express yourselves, and we hear each other, we create a safe space even through Zoom. So our program is trauma informed for our students, but also for the adults. And Kim and I have written about this and how specifically that actually works. But our hope is that not only are the activities and the work that you're doing with your students, creating safe spaces, you're creating trustworthiness and transparency, like Kim mentioned, sharing your own I am from, that right off the bat helps to create trustworthiness and transparency to your students. peers hear each other, they support each other, there's opportunities to share and collaborate. There's a student voice and choice involved, and there's empowerment, there's historical and cultural understanding, representation, and there's an acknowledgement of different issues, whether it's including gender issues, where students can talk about themselves and have the ability to freely express themselves. And so, yeah, I don't want to go too far into it, but just so you can kind of see what we mean when we say trauma informed, is that we're really saying that this is like the core of what we're doing. And our goal is to hopefully do it with you all as well in the times where we meet, to collaborate, to hear your voice, and to provide a space for you to share as well. And also the hip hop piece, I'll just kind of dangle that out there. Hip hop pedagogy is something else that we discussed earlier. And again, that really comes from an idea that has been used in education for generations. We learn about rock groups. Like I learned about things through the Beatles when I was in middle school. I'll never forget, we had a whole week learning about the Beatles and what the Yellow Submarine was really talking about, and all the other songs and figurative language. So we also look at hip hop culture and pedagogy as a way to kind of continue to connect with students and to spotlight and shine the voice on artists that are using their voices to communicate a lot of things that our students can connect with. So hopefully that was like 4 minutes rapid speed, but if any other questions, I'll be here all year. So I'll pass it back to Kim and we'll keep moving.
Sounds good. Thanks, Trent. So just this year, some of the things that we're really pushing, we found that, having a new teacher orientation is important because we have so many new teachers this year. And so we're going to continue to review a lot of different things that we've done. We talk a lot about writing workshop and how to teach revision and different writerly skills, but also through the context of our trauma-informed workshops as well. So just so you know, there's lots more to come this year. We also are hoping to get out to your schools. We want to be there to support you and also meet your students. And so we look forward to getting back out to the schools like we once did. And again, continuing to just highlight all of you and the work that you're doing through our website and our social media, things like that. So more to come on all of that. We will have our monthly meetings just like this. Most of them will be virtual. However, we are hoping to maybe have 1 or 2 in person. We like to bring you all together, serve you a meal. I feel like sometimes, just a meal is something that is nice to have, and for you to be able to come together and meet each other. So we're thinking maybe our December meeting and maybe one at the end of the year, but more to come on that. But so you'll see an Evite just like you got for this meeting for our monthly meetings with the Zoom link. These are an opportunity for us to really learn together. So talk about what's happening in your classroom. If there's a theme for the meeting or something you should know ahead of time, that will all be in that Evite. Each school also has a teacher leader. And so we do like you to have monthly meetings at your school as well. So an opportunity for you to get together and support one another, kind of like, where are we? What are we doing next? How can we help each other? And we would like to come out and join some of those monthly meetings as well. So those are some of the things that we will work on throughout the year. And so hopefully you all know who your teacher leader is at your school. I don't know why it says Keisha Hill for Penrose. It should say Douglas Gardner and Keisha Hill. So I must have just made that typo. But these are the people that have been identified at your school to be the teacher leader. We will also have different teacher leader meetings. So we try to support our leaders. They also keep us informed with what's going on at the school, different supports that you need, things like that. So look at your school and see who you have to reach out to at your school. And let me just a heads up on some of the meetings. If you want to go ahead and save the dates, October 12th will be our next meeting at the same time. So 4:30 to 6. We have one on November 9th and one on December 7th. I think there's a couple teacher leaders on the call. So teacher leaders, we are having a teacher leader dinner on September 28th. So I will send more information about that But again, you will get these monthly invites for these sessions with all the information that you need for them. And if you aren't already, follow us on Facebook and on Instagram, because we will also put reminders about meetings and things like that coming up. So those are our, what do they call it? Handles or, yeah, okay. I always miss the lingo. And then certainly our website as well is a great source. So last but certainly not least, we want to just thank you all for being here tonight. To recognize you and honor your time. We will be sending out a gift card to each of you. So I just put in the chat a Google form. So if you could please go in there and fill out that Google form so that we have your information so that we can send you that gift card. If there is anybody who has not received their materials yet, please send me an email so that I can work on a way to get those materials to you so that you can get the program started. And otherwise, we are so excited to have so many of you part of our program this year. We are really excited about some new initiatives and bringing back some old initiatives. And so we are at 6:01. I want to thank you for your time and energy and really look forward to getting to know all of you throughout the year. So have a great evening. And like I said, I will send this out. So if you know people at your school were not able to attend, we can share this information with them so that they can get caught up. So otherwise, have a great night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.